welcome to morning coffee. It is nice not to have to put the fly on every night. I always try for at least a little protection when I set up my tent, just in case the wind gets really bad. This camp actually reminds me of, those endless nights we've bivvied out in the desert going to or from various trips. I can kind of hear the freeway, highway, and the trains off in the distance, and I could see the lights of the road last night. Last night was absolutely lovely desert camping. Love being able to sleep out and look up at the stars. For a lot of this, the dew, whether it was freezing or not, has kept me hiding under the fly at night, or just, temperatures when it was getting down to 10 degrees there for a little while. So this morning, 12 miles-ish into Lordsburg, figure 5 or 6 hours probably, at which point I need to buy food, and I'll probably just hole up at a hotel, upload everything, get started in the morning for the final 70-some mile push. And by hole up in a hotel, I of course mean eat copious amounts of town food. There might even be a Mexican food restaurant in this town, and it might even be open. As you can see, pretty much straight after the gate, it gets cross country. And I don't know what the deal is with this land, but it is outside of public land. Now, if I had camped out here, do I think that realistically anybody was going to see me, or even if they did, come bother me? Probably not, but still. One of my takeaways from my time on the AT was basically the impact of bad behavior by thru hikers. So I always try and be extra polite, extra considerate, things like that, to avoid contributing to that problem. Sure doesn't look like it's going to take me 5 hours to walk down there into town, but distances out in the desert can be kind of funny. I've been sitting up on peaks, with 100-mile view in every direction out in Mojave and things like that. And you don't have anything to judge scale on until you see a teeny tiny vehicle way off in the distance. Remember what I was saying a couple of days ago about that northbound bias in this section? Yeah. This is my last town stop before the terminus. Part of me has been very tempted to just bypass it and go. But my pack's so heavy with the extra layers and everything that I've accumulated through all the cold weather, I was not in a hurry to do, a 5, 6, 7 day food carry. My best guess is once I leave Lordsburg, I've got 3 solid days and then a partial. I can't seem to push it much past 20 miles a day, just with amount of daylight and things like that. The terrain yesterday was once again significantly easier and faster going. If it's like that / like this, then I may be able to do a little better. When I estimate time, if I'm running a little bit slow, if I say I'm going a little bit slow, that usually means 2 miles an hour or less. I can go 2.5 pretty consistently if I'm on reasonable trail and I'm just, zoned out hiking along. If it's really flat or I'm on a road, I can hit 3 or 4 miles an hour. But it just depends. And I tend to be kind of lost following a book or just thinking of things while I'm playing music. So it's not like I'm sitting there forcing myself to go faster than my comfortable pace most of the time. Whether I finish a day earlier or a day later really doesn't matter that much at this point. I just want to finish. My nightmare is that I, twist an ankle, break something, I don't know, get Giardia, or, something similar that's going to derail me for days at a time. So much for cross country. I wonder if they just missed it or if this is a relatively new improvement. It is kind of a funny thing because on one hand, every time I talk to Jen, it's all about, I can't wait to be done. Ready to be done, been out here, I feel like I'm overdue, yada yada. And yet on the other, through hikes are cool because they're one of those things that you're pretty sure you're not going to forget. So much of the time when I was working, months would go by where stuff happened, but was it super memorable things where I'm like, Oh yeah, the spring of 2018. Oh, that was a huge time. not always, not really. Versus out here, I mean, yeah, okay, if I came and I did the CDT 3 or 4 times, then it might kind of become the norm and fade in. But at least so far, every big through hike I have done has been one of those things that just stands out as one of those memories I'll probably have till I drop dead. And at least for me, when I'm out here, time doesn't just slip by. Again, I've had, times when I was working where I was busy, I was doing stuff, but it all just kind of seems to run together, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, it's summertime already. Versus out here, each individual day generally feels really long. Outside of certain times when things are just flying, I'm in the mood for a book, I'm reading a good book, then sometimes I'll just take off and, oh hey, it's the end of the day already. That happened for a chunk of the Mississippi, for example, towards the end before the heat waves hit. But in general, by the time I climb in the tent at the end of the day, I'm thinking back over the day and it feels like a really, really long day. Now the weeks kind of will run together over time. It is just funny to me how time works out here. Because I know, when I was healing up for those 3 weeks, I was following, Sweden Whitney and a couple other folks that were out here. And it practically seemed like they were teleporting ahead, Be like, oh, there's another post. Oh, wow, they're down to Silver City already. And I know from comments from friends, it's like that following me off trail. But out here, each and every day just, again, feels super long. They aren't long days from the perspective of, sometime when I'm unhappy and I'm around town, it just feels like the hours are dragging by. It's just, so much happens. Sometimes I can go on to automatic mode and just hit my hiker's end, but I'm having to navigate constantly here. I'm going through mazes of roads and trails and things like that. So it just requires me to pay attention. And by the end of the day, I've seen so much scenery and different things that it's just, the day is long because there's so much packed into it. And generally anything past yesterday feels like an eternity ago, which makes it really hard sometimes responding to comments on the YouTube videos, because even if they're just a couple of days behind, I have to remember what the heck was going on there. And it's like, oh, that felt like a long time ago. I usually look at the whole time passage thing out here as a good thing. Figure I'm fully experiencing the adventure. It does leave me, when I finished the PCT, I was sitting there and it had been, a dream for over 10 years, yada, yada. Here I'd done it, and it felt like so much had happened, and I was forgetting things, I was losing what it felt like being out in NorCal versus Oregon versus Washington. There are memories that I won't ever forget of all those sections, but also so much that I forget unless I happen to see some particular picture and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. That was why I switched over to the videos after the PCT, because I can go back, and if I really want to relive what it was like those 10 days in Winter Park, hey, I've got video taken while I was going through it, which is the reason why my videos are made out of 60 to 100 little clips done throughout the day. I find that captures things for me a lot better, how I want to capture them, versus if you're just looking over video or pictures you took and narrating it after the fact. The end result comes out a lot different. You tend to have a more, or at least I do, idolized view of how things went. I refer to the PCT as the perfect year because there weren't, a lot of people out there, COVID. It felt pretty much the ideal, like I'd done it, 10 years before. But I had a lot of really, really rough times. I had Gerardia 3 days in, I spent time in Julian recovering from that, and I had been recovering just as long as I'd been on trail. I had pack rash, I had an Achilles issue at Tehachapi that I thought might end my through hike 500 miles in. The shoe issues, the foot arch issues, the pack abrasion issues, just the pain from carrying the pack that was pretty much a constant from NorCal on. When I think back to it, those things, I remember them, but they tend to seem like less of a big deal. Versus when you're right in the middle of it and you have a whole bunch of chemical burns because of a laundry mishap from your loving partner in the last town. I like capturing whatever my mood is right then. When I was just starting out, my videos were hitting a lot of new people, like coming up through Florida, etc. I did get a lot of criticism for that because I kept having people come in and say, oh, they watch so many other videos and people are always just, happy. And here I am, and I'm just talking about slogging through swamps and things like that. I have literally had encounters with people on trail where their social media is the usual rah, living my best life, every day is the best day. And then the moment they are not being recorded, they're practically in tears. Granted, I've also seen people, dramatically crying into the camera. But hey, that's what happens when you're raised watching reality TV, I guess. Okay, despite those comments I saw, other than the public land versus whatever this is issue, camping would have been better down here. Oh well. 5 baby pigs. Oh, Jen would be happy. So if you notice, I appear to have civilization that way, and yet I'm going this way. Yeah, welcome to the CDT. There's probably a couple of private ranch lands around here. The comments in the area involve a bunch of people knowingly trespassing for a water source rather than stretching to engineer in another 4 or 5 miles. But hey, that's okay. I wanted to make sure I got my CDT 3K challenge in anyway. I'm at like 29.78 or so, I think, right now. So if you see those vehicles way off into the distance, I basically arc around, meet that road, then I cut a left into Lordsburg. And food. Did I mention food? Entire damn plane out here, and he's going to complain I'm coming down the trail. Well, yes, I am walking in town to eat your brethren in burrito form. It is almost getting overly warm out here. Hard to believe it's December and that I was freezing my butt off a week ago. I knew it was going to get warmer and drier down here. Didn't expect it to be almost uncomfortably warm. Yeah, I would have rather done some of this last night. Oh well. Then I might have missed the pigs. It's only going to be a couple of miles, but I do have another loud road walk coming up. Been kind of kicking myself for not throwing my AirPods in so I could try them on these sections, but at the time I knew I was going to be loaded up with a lot of water and cold weather gear, so I was a little wary about bringing anything I didn't think I had to have. Well, I was kind of hoping for a gate, but I guess this is what it is. Limbo time. And once again, there were shorter ways. I'm also pretty sure I've driven through this town a half dozen times since it's right along the 10. Don't think it ever registered on me. I just saw that inflatable Santa over there and realized, A, it's getting close to Christmas, and B, I've been so focused on the negative as far as running late, missing things back in SoCal. But on the plus side, I have had very little Christmas music inflicted on me. Not that I mind Christmas music, but it gets pushed earlier and earlier these days. So this is another road walk, however it is a short one. It's only about 3 miles from where I got on the road to where Lordsburg has the 10 cross it, and then it's only another mile after that, and the trail jumps off and heads back off into the dirt. Well, that's an encouraging sign. First border patrol I've seen. That means I'm getting close. And welcome to the lovely metropolis that is Lordsburg. Back in my college days, I stayed at that sort of a hotel a couple of times. I think I'm going to go to the Econo Lodge. And there's my resupply, but first things first. Food, hotel. This place makes grants feel like a happening place, as long as I have food. The restaurant Cranberries next to Motel 6 was the one that seemed to be mostly recommended. However, it looks like they changed ownership and were closed, so I ended up at the only option, a Mexican food fast food place across the street. Sadly, it wasn't great. Other than the burrito, I wasn't even able to finish the other things I ordered because they just tasted off. Not quite the best room, but for 60-some bucks, it works. So far, everything in this town has been a little bit of an adventure. So I'm currently running out to resupply. Don't want to be out too long after dark. That mountain range in the background is the one that I came off of this morning. Oh well. And the next couple of days just got a whole lot better looking. And I officially, hopefully have enough food to get through 3 days now. I wasn't willing to risk gastrointestinal disaster by going to the fast food Mexican again, and with literally everything else in town closed, I ended up just grabbing some things from the store, and dinner was a bag salad, some canned fruit, and ice cream.